Human.
Human.
It is appropriate, actually, that it took us 4 times with different technical difficulties
Not
to get
even
this
4. I think
set
it's
up today.
been, it's also been like a week. We tried this
Yeah.
episode last week. It didn't work. I mean, it's,
And then we were traveling, so we couldn't do it. So it's this. We're like so delayed. Then we're like, okay, we have to get it done. The deadline is tonight, And then we come down here to do it, and it's like everything's going.
Everything's falling apart. The
nothing's
lights aren't
It's
working.
like, what?
Our phones are dying. I mean, it's literally
Yeah.
like, what is happening?
Yeah.
What is happening?
So we're having a very human experience, just trying to get because
being a human's hard, man.
it's freaking hard. Sometimes
It's
it really
hard.
is complicated.
It is, right?
We have a lot going on right now. Some of our really good friends are moving.
I know, the
We
worst.
kind of like sort of said goodbye yesterday. So there's emotion. It's like, jeez.
There's emotion.
Yeah, like I don't need what a distraction.
I got enough stuff going on in my life
emotion
without
is.
emotions.
Right.
I know. There's a lot of change happening, a lot of travel happening, a lot of sickness going around, it's just like,
Yeah.
it's been nonstop.
Yeah.
It's been nonstop. I think that's everyone though, right?
I think so.
I think that's
I think
part
it's
of
a
the
lot of
human
people.
experience. Like, it's just crazy. I feel like we're perpetually trying to like arrive.
Yeah.
What does that even mean though?
Well,
because I think that's a lie. Like, we're perpetually trying to like get to this point where it'll all be fine one day and it'll all feel like a vacation.
Right. You can just coast.
Yeah. And that's just like not reality.
Right. I think I see. We grew up in Florida where
Yeah.
a large amount of the population in our direct like vicinity was retired or like well
Yep.
off. Either way, they were like kind of chilling. But I saw that as like, oh, like when you get to adulthood, if you're good, you just kind of you just get to the point where you'll coast.
Mm.
And I'm like,
That's interesting. I've never thought about that, like making its way into our headspace because we're both
yeah.
from the same place. And yeah.
yeah. I mean, maybe that's maybe how it got into my head.
Yeah.
It got into other people's heads other ways. But I just think for me, I'm starting to realize like,
Mm.
no, if you take on responsibilities and you want to have a full, vibrant, active life, it means you're going to be busy. You're not,
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
don't have time to just sit around on the golf course all day. It's what I would like to do, like or I should say, like I love to golf.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't have time to golf every
Yeah.
day or every week, and sometimes it's just like, holy cow. And I know that's like a ridiculous example of what it means to be too busy, but like
Yeah.
we have like very basic things that sometimes get neglected in
Yeah.
life.
Like
just
our
because it's like
backyard.
our
all the time.
backyard
I mean,
is
it's like a jungle.
yeah, no, it's there are
It's like a jungle.
you can tell how bad your backyard is by how big the other animals live. Like if all you have is bugs, it's like that's normal. But we're starting to have critters who
That you can't see.
there's
in
so
the
much
bushes.
room.
Oh my gosh.
There's so much room for them to hide that we're actually created a nature preserve in our backyard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's insane. So
I know.
and of course they feel comfortable because we're never walking
never
in or
there.
out basically. So
I know. Anyways, I'm not trying to complain. I'm
No.
truly not trying to complain. I'm just trying to make space for other people who feel overwhelmed
right.
to be like, oh, thank God I'm not the only one. I mean, sometimes I feel like that. Sometimes I'm like, am I doing this to myself? Am I putting too much pressure on myself? And surely, yes, I am. And I'm taking on too many things. And like we've talked about, being a part of being a human being, right, is like realizing that you have limitations,
Right.
recognizing that and like being okay with that,
Totally.
and learning how to navigate it, how to be. What did you say to me once that like maybe the goal of adulthood is like learning how to be well adjusted to whatever your life is, whatever situation you find yourself in, like constantly learning how to adjust so that you can get to the point where you're well adjusted in your life.
Yeah, I do.
But it's not like an arrival thing. It's more just like life is going to be crazy and chaotic. How do I not lose myself in the midst of that? You know?
Yeah, for sure. And also I think it is real that there are seasons, and sometimes you're in a spot of transition, or you've already transitioned, but your brain or something hasn't caught up with your new reality. No pun intended.
Oh.
And so you're having to like you're living in a spot where you're like not well adjusted. And then I think sometimes you can, with enough work and a little bit of luck along the way and stuff, you can get to the point where you do become well adjusted.
Yeah.
You do become well adjusted to your new situation.
Yeah.
And then who knows, a year down the road, there might be some other big pivot and all of a sudden now you're thrown into a craziness again, you know, but I do think it is a goal, a worthwhile goal, I should say, to be well adjusted, to just be kind of, to have, you know, it's like, I feel like in the old days, people say, get a grip. But now that sounds really insensitive, right? Because it's not just like,
get a grip.
It's not just like pull yourself up by your bootstraps, but I think it is like, the point is to be working on it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's like, is the goal to be fit? It's like, well, yeah, but the goal is really to be making the decisions that you get fit.
Yeah.
Whether that's physical or mental or spiritual or whatever.
Yeah.
Just trying, just
Health.
applying yourself to it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, because we are all human. I mean, you noticed the other day that there were more Taco Bell hot sauce packets there's a shelf
suspicious.
where I keep the Taco Bell hot sauce packets.
Every time I leave, I notice that there's more that arrive in the pantry.
Yeah, but see, I never tell you
seriously, because I never go to Taco Bell.
You never go to Taco Bell, and
this might be a hot button issue for people.
Here we go.
I am not a Taco Bell fan, not at all. I don't even want it eaten around me. I'm not a Taco Bell fan because I got really sick one time when I was younger eating Taco Bell, and I've never gone back.
It's so sad.
Dom is the opposite. Dom loves Taco Bell.
I love Taco Bell. It's not even just the food. In fact, I don't love the food as much as I used to, although I still do love some particular items. But it's also just like, it's the branding. It's everything.
Does it take you back to your childhood?
I see that
like, what
bell
is it?
and maybe. So like this is the thing. This is why we have more and more hot sauce packets in there, because I don't eat fast food, first of all. Like,
no,
I would say
never.
that when I am
never.
This is the thing about being human. Like when I am at my best, I am absolutely a person who does not eat fast food.
Yeah.
I don't mess.
Not even tempted. Yeah.
Not even tempted.
Yeah.
Even when it's cheaper and it's easier, I will go home and spend time and money preparing a fresh meal before I stop and eat fast food. Okay?
Yeah.
At the same time, every once in a while, especially if you're out of town and especially if it's like late at night and I'm driving home and I see Taco Bell.
You see the bell.
I just go, you know what?
Skirt.
Skirt. And it's just like,
beep, beep.
And literally after it's done, it's like, ugh. Like,
really? You don't even feel good after?
Well, no. If I don't overdo it, I feel fine. But sometimes I'm just like, this is so dirty. You know what I mean? Like if somebody saw me right now in my car eating this.
I don't think they'd judge. No. I think a lot of people eat fast food. I think a lot of people do.
Yeah, but like, what if somebody from the gym saw me? Can you imagine if somebody from Orange Theory saw me wolfing down? And I don't even take this is how you know I think it's shameful. I don't even take the trash in the house. I put the Taco Bell trash straight in the trash can outside.
It's a very potent smell, though. I would smell it, and I'd be like, "You've been to Taco Bell, haven't you?"
Yeah, and it's not that I'm keeping it from you. Let's be very clear about this here, okay? It's not that I'm hiding it from you. I just, if it doesn't come up, it never happens.
Who needs to know?
Right.
You never need to know.
Right. So.
I mean, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, thank you.
It's okay that you go to Taco. That's a human thing, all right?
Yeah.
We're talking about human things.
Now, what I'm really ashamed by is sometimes I go to Crumble, cookies. And here's the thing. I don't even really like Crumble cookies.
I know. I don't get it. Sometimes the
fact that it's a new new flavors every week, sometimes I just got to pop in and say, what do you have cooking in here?
What do you have for me?
Yeah, and most of the time I'm like, no, they all sound gross. But
I know.
Every once in a while, there's something like key lime, or there's something like Nutella vibes, or I don't know. Every once in a while, there's something I pull the trigger on.
So that's like your weakness is food.
Definitely.
Like junk food.
Well, I have many, many, many weaknesses.
Well, yeah.
But that is one of them, for sure.
I would say one of my weaknesses is like binging TV shows.
TV shows, yeah.
Wouldn't you say? Wouldn't you say that's one of my weaknesses?
I don't know. I guess I don't know if it's a weakness. right?
I
You
think
got to keep things in check. But I mean, you don't spend like
no.
11 hours in front of the TV.
No, that's true. No, but when I have like a night off when you're out with the
Yeah.
guys or doing something
Yeah.
else, or I'm you're traveling or whatever,
Yeah.
and I'm home,
Yeah.
like I'm lounging.
Yeah. That's not binging. I mean, sure.
I guess so.
Look, there have been times where we watch a show and it's like 9:30 and you're like, should we do one more? I'm like, yeah, who cares?
I'm like, oh, okay.
You're like, whoa, party night. We're going to watch a second ep, you know? So
no, I would do a third and a fourth though.
Yeah,
That's
well, if we started
would.
earlier.
Okay, maybe more of my weakness is that I have a sweet tooth. I have a very bad sweet tooth. You cannot deny.
No, I can't.
That I have a sweet tooth. Every time I pass the pantry, I put my hand in there and I grab chocolate chips.
Yeah,
every
or
time.
some form of chocolate. Yeah.
During the day, throughout the day, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm going in there and I'm eating chocolate chips.
Yeah.
Or at night, I'm like, hey, cookies. You're like, no, I would like to skip that.
Yeah.
But you're a very kind husband and you let me go for it sometimes.
Well,
but
I like this morning I was looking at your I don't know what the world would call it. You would call it a yogurt bowl, but
excuse me, that is a yogurt bowl.
But but
it has raspberries and granola.
Yeah, the granola is very sweet. You pour a cup of agave into the yogurt.
Okay, a squirt or two. Thank you very much.
Big squirt. And I'm like, wow, hey, dessert for breakfast. There's no shame in that.
Okay, I do like sweets. Anyways, we can move on from our weaknesses, but
yeah, let's please.
All this to say, we're human beings. We have limitations. It's hard to be a human being sometimes, but this is why I love this song, is because it really is a meditation on the humanity of Christ.
Yes.
Not to like totally switch gears right away, but like I love thinking about the incarnation, and I think it's a worthy thing to ponder and pray about and think about, because it's mind-blowing. Like when you really stop to think about Jesus walking on this earth, laughing with his friends, having dinner with his friends, being moved to tears and losing friends, and I mean all of the different things that he experienced as a human being, and knowing, like, understanding that means that he can understand me in that way, and my humanity, and like
he can relate.
My limitations and successes and failures and everything in between. Like that is deeply and profoundly moving to me.
Yeah.
And I think worthy of spending time continually in our life, like pondering that.
Right. That he can relate to you.
Yeah.
And your suffering.
Yeah.
And because he knew that you would suffer. Like, it's not that he suffered so we don't have to.
Yeah.
Right. That's been said a lot. It's like, but we can almost like suffer well when we remember, when we can unite our sufferings to his. If he didn't have any sufferings, we couldn't unite to him in that way.
Yeah.
Or he couldn't unite to us or whatever. So
yeah,
it is like a powerful part of being a Christian. Like it's one of those like practical application things. It's like, yeah, we read about it, we kind of understand it, but it's another thing to like really bring that to the front of your mind.
Right. Think about it, and yeah.
And it's powerful. Yeah. This was the first song you wrote after we went to the Holy Land?
Holy Land trip, which was when 2000. Ooh, I'm bad with years.
22 maybe.
2 years ago, yeah.
2 years ago. Yeah,
22.
the summer, like May of 2022.
Oh my gosh, what a trip!
Yeah, that was amazing. We were supposed to go in 2020, right? And it got canceled because of COVID,
and then pushed. Yeah,
and it got pushed 2 years.
Yeah.
And I remember
being like, "What?"
Yeah. When they pushed it back 2 years, I was like,
be?
"Excuse me,
Yeah.
that's another lifetime from now."
Yeah, yeah.
But it came at the right time.
Came at the exact right time, I would say, for us.
Yeah,
it was such an awesome trip. I still like think back on it sometimes, because I just felt like drinking from a fire hose or something.
Yeah, yeah. And then
the amount of like places that are inspiring and that something big happened in, and you know what I mean? Like all of that is just too much.
Yeah. Well, we didn't have a lot of time to process it because right after we went into like a 2-week trip in the UK with the band.
Oh my
and
gosh.
we were recording a live project live in London.
London sessions.
Oh yeah, London sessions. Wow, live in London. London sessions.
Although we should have considered that live in London.
Yeah, maybe that was taken.
Yeah.
But yeah. So we went right into that from the Holy Land. So we really didn't.
Oh my gosh.
We didn't like go home
that.
and have a couple weeks where we were just like living life and processing that, you know?
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, this was the first song that I wrote after that trip.
Well, I just remember you were saying that in the context of how cool it was to visit like Jesus' hometown, basically, you know?
Yeah, Capernaum, and to stare out on the Sea of God. I think that, yeah, those moments in the Holy Land, being in places that he physically would have stood and looking out at the same horizon that he would have looked at, you know, staring out at the Sea of Galilee and just being like, oh my gosh, he must have loved water, you know, like little things like that, just being like getting context for these stories and for the person of Jesus.
Helping you connect to him like, as a person.
Yeah. I've said this before, but it's like, it felt like visiting your best friend's hometown and being like, oh, I get it.
Right.
I get it
like
now.
So much more about them makes sense. It makes more sense now that you've seen where they come from.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. So it was just
like I've always wondered how Jesus was so tan, but now I get like, you know what I mean?
Desert and beach, you know?
Right. Like okay, this dude was
there are some Mediterranean
sun.
Mediterranean vibes over there, you know?
Yeah, which like okay, anyone who's been there is like duh, but I just didn't realize that.
Didn't know.
You know?
Yeah.
Like some of the places we went were like they looked like, you know, high-end resort like beautiful palm trees and, you know, clear blue water and stuff. So I was like, okay, Jesus. Okay, you picked strategically.
You picked the right spot. Yeah. I know, no. It was really amazing. And was there anything about that trip in particular that you remember being moved by?
It was kind of a complicated trip for me. I mean, there was just a lot happening, you know, in my personal life, but, yeah, I remember having a really profound experience in the, like the cell that he was in the night before the crucifixion, Caiaphas' house. Yeah. It felt to me like one of the better preserved spots.
Yeah.
Whereas it was, you know what I mean? Like everything else was like, there was a church built on top of something and they were like, so, you know, 20 feet below here is where blank, blank, blank happened.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know that at the time, or there have been times where they needed to build the churches, like for like even to protect the sites, or they wanted to commemorate and honor or whatever.
Yeah.
It's great, but it made it more difficult for me to enter in, I think.
Totally.
But that spot, I stayed down there for a while, and I really just tried to almost do like an Ignatian type of exercise, you know, where I was really just trying to put myself there. And
it felt heavy in that room.
For sure. I mean, gosh, speaking of what you were saying earlier about, you know, Jesus suffering, and just how wild that is, it's like that's a room where you can almost feel what the suffering that must have been kind of coursing through him at that when he was there. Yeah, you know, and it's almost a spooky thing to like put yourself in that, but it wasn't like spooky or dark or scary in that way. It was actually just really profound. I had a very similar experience in Lazarus's cave,
that
or
was really amazing.
Tomb.
Yep.
Because you know, they're not like 100% sure that was it, but you can at least imagine that it would have been a lot like that. And so, and I've always loved that story. And so going there and going down into the tomb, and then like basically when it was like, all right, it's over, like let's go, let's leave. That was actually the most profound part, was leaving the tomb. Yeah. That was good, dude. Yeah. So there was a couple of really nice spots for me.
I forgot about those. And the shepherd's field. Oh my gosh. There's anyways, we don't have to go into all of it, but there were so many spots that were profound and powerful and beautiful. And
yeah, we had an amazing priest from the UK leading us too. Yeah. So like there was, and we were with, Father Chris, and we were with our friends from the UK, many of whom we've been close with for years, and we love them. So it was just like it was just good vibes. It was just a great, it was really fun.
Really fun. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Anyway, it's just in case anybody wanted to hear all about our trip. But the point is, it really helped us connect to Jesus as a human, and then we came back, and this was the first song you
Yeah.
wrote. So
Yeah.
just that's a helpful context for the
Yeah.
song, because it is a reflection on Jesus's humanity and divinity.
Yeah.
But in like, whereas most worship songs are like a reflection of on Jesus's divinity,
And rightfully
for
so.
obvious
Yeah.
reasons. It's sometimes interesting just to stop and think about his humanity,
Yeah.
as he was fully both, we believe.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah. And the other special part about writing this song was that it was the first song I wrote with Savannah Locke and Bede. And both of them, I had met Savannah before, but I'd never met Bede. And it just like, it was one of those sessions where we walked in and it just clicked.
Hmm.
And we wrote this song, and I was like, this was one of the ones that I wrote in the last few years that when we wrote it, like after, I was like, what just happened? Like, I just felt like it was an earth shifting kind of moment for me, because I didn't even know that I was capable of helping to write a song like that. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like really a beautiful experience just being with them and getting to know them both as writers. And it just kind of clicked. And then we just started writing a ton together, because
Right.
when you find a crew that kind of gets along and understands each other and vibes out, it just works well.
Yeah.
You want to recreate that, you know, maybe we'll get them on the pod. That would be fun to do one with them.
Yeah.
But,
Well, that's really cool, because you made something. I mean, I'll step away from like the spiritual aspect of the song. It's just cool for you as an artist to make something that you're really proud of, and that you feel like, okay, I feel like we represented what we were trying to represent.
Yeah.
Like, this song says what you were trying to say, and at least that's how it seemed like you were describing the experience. So it's not like, you know, I'd imagine there's a different kind of pride in writing a song that like gets super popular. That's another thing. But what you're describing is like, before anybody else heard it, you just felt like, I'm so proud that I, you know, am a part of this song that says what these
what we
artists
wanted to say.
What we wanted to say. That's cool, you know?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I know I've had a lot of the opposite experience when I'm writing, where I'm like, why can't I say what I'm trying to say?
Why can't I get it? Totally. You know, and that it reminds me of what I've said before about this record, which is that I feel like my voice as a writer has never been more present in these songs. And I think that was one of those moments early on where I was like, oh, this is what it can feel like when you are in the song, like your heart and the way that you communicate it, and when other people help you to craft that in a beautiful way, or melodies or whatever, like this is what it feels like. Not to say that I haven't been in the past. I think I've just learned how to advocate for myself more and speak up and like share my heart more, unapologetically and kind of unguarded. And because of that, then more of me is present in the song. It's like, duh. But in the past, I really struggled with that. And I think that was one of those moments early on in the record making process where I was like, oh, this has unlocked something for me, and I want more of that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's cool. I'm really glad you said that. I'll appreciate the song on a different level too because of that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I want to talk about some of the lyrics, if that's okay.
Yeah. I know what my favorite lyric is.
Okay. Yeah, you do that because I'm looking for mine. I wrote it down. Sorry.
Mine is in verse 2, where it says, "You know what it feels like when healing doesn't come, the sting of a heartache to lose someone you love. You know what it feels like to pray for this to pass and take a step forward when no one else understands." Like, I could go on so many different tangents with that verse, but it just carries the weight of human emotion to me, of all different kinds of emotions that are heavy.
Right.
And puts it in the person of Jesus. And it's just such a, I don't know, it's deeply moving to me every time I hear it and I'm reminded of it. Yeah, that's my favorite.
Wow.
Hands down.
It's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Because it really does help you to live your life and to carry your burdens when you reflect on the fact that Jesus, who you love, you know, the Son of God, right? The Savior, that he can relate to praying for something to pass.
Mm.
It's a reminder that like the Christian life is not about the promise of everything being smooth and easy.
Yeah.
Like it's not that Jesus suffered so that we don't have to. We will for sure suffer. You know what I mean? And I think there is something powerful about living the Christian life and allowing, Jesus to help you carry the burden and know that you don't walk alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it can actually help you to bear your burdens and to weather your storms and to keep carrying on.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
Eventually, get through the valley and be able to start climbing the next mountain,
Yeah.
and kind of keep on moving. So if you can apply it, it's really helpful. And it became a lot easier to apply the idea of Jesus bearing burdens and being a human when we went to where he lived.
Yeah.
It just was a cool, kind of unexpected,
connection or something.
Connection.
Yeah.
And it just really does help you remember that he knows what all that feels like when like when healing doesn't come. That's an interesting one, right? Because
I know
we like people in the church pray for healing all the time, as well they should.
And he is the healer.
So
but
why?
There were
why
times
not?
when he chose not to.
Right.
And people that weren't healed, and you know what I mean. Like,
right.
It's that's a whole other tangent. But
yeah, it is. And
you
can't just avoid it. You know what I mean?
No, and even like, lose someone you love, like Lazarus, and just remembering that Jesus literally felt that, and wept, and even though he could have stopped it, he didn't. He ended up writing that one, but all of that is just really profound to me. It has been a helpful thing for me to just remember and honestly, like, repeat that part of the song over and over in my head.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I love that. I love that verse. I'm going to listen to it more carefully too from now on. I really think about those words.
What about you?
First verse. You know what it feels to look up at the stars.
The ground underneath you, the beating of your heart. You know what it feels like to wake up with the dawn. The touch of the sunlight. The wind inside your lungs.
That's good. It's really good, man. It's beautiful. It's really
really
nice.
poetic.
I mean, I know the point of this podcast is not for us to sit here and talk about how great they are. You know what I mean? But I just want to say
those were lines that my friend Savannah came up with, though.
She's great.
Yeah, she's a poet.
But yeah. So the line, I think maybe right after that, you know what it feels like to look up at the stars.
Yeah.
The ground underneath you, the beating of your heart. I know, especially when we lived in Florida.
Yeah.
One thing I found that I got a lot of is reflection time in nature, because like our life was just very outdoor centric when we were there, in a way that it isn't now. It isn't here. We do go for a walk outside pretty much every day.
Yeah.
But I would go to the beach pretty regularly.
It's a different level.
Yeah, I would go to the beach pretty regularly, or I would, especially at night, and just be dark, and I could look up at the stars and just think for a while, and that's just not something I do here for obvious reasons. So it was. I loved that line because it really that's like a very human thing I can relate to. Is just all the thoughts that might be racing through your head as you're standing underneath the stars, looking up, just contemplating all that is and could be, and it's just another way that helped me think about Jesus as not only fully divine but fully human. And that's where I feel like a brotherhood with him. And we've talked about this before. It's probably way too long and complicated to really explain on this episode, but I did an Ignatian silent retreat.
Yeah.
And
I think you talked about that maybe last episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. We're doing these out of order, I guess, huh? But that was something that I got.
Yeah.
That was like connecting with him in the Ignatian style really helped me see him as a human, because you put yourself in the story. And so then it's like, like Christ, my brother. You know what I mean? Like that's like a title that we use. And that's a really interesting one.
Yeah.
Because it's not just like Savior and Lord, although of course it is. But Christ, my brother is almost like that's the part where I connect with him as a human. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's very real.
yeah. Anyway,
I love that.
I think it's really important to connect. This is going to sound so obvious, right? But it's really important if you're trying to live the Christian life to connect with Jesus, the person.
Mm.
I think it's pretty much essential, and it's weird how long you can kind of be involved in Christian stuff and not really be able to tap into that connection.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah, agreed. I think that's a really good point. Well,
all right, human.
Everyone go take a walk outside, put in your AirPods and listen to Human, and let that be your moment of prayer today and connection. Amen. That's your homework.
They're like, hey, we didn't know we are going to have homework. Okay. This better be a first and last.
Speaking of homework, we got to go cut open our sourdough bread that I just baked because it's fully cooled down.
Yeah. And by the way, if they follow you on socials, they might see a picture of it. This is your most beautiful loaf yet.
The best.
Structure.
Rise.
The
crust.
The scoring was almost perfect.
I need to work on that.
No, but it was really like it was.
I need to work on
pretty
the scoring.
Solid.
Yeah. But anyways.
All right, everybody.
Peace.
Fare thee well.